Hey everybody, Michael here with Conquest Overland, coming to you with a review and my initial thoughts on the brand new wheel and tire combination here on Yeti. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the details and specs, as well as how this overall setup has changed the characteristics here on the truck. And then in the future, down the road, I'm going to be releasing a second video, which is going to go into even more detail on how I've used this setup in different terrains and landscapes and all that good stuff as the year progresses and as the seasons change naturally as well. So to begin with, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So to start with, the wheels are by Relations Race Wheels, and to be fully transparent for you guys, they did reach out to me and they did send me this set to try out and provide some feedback. I only mention that just because I truly do want to be transparent and honest with you guys nonetheless, but at the same token, that does not change my opinion and feedback that I'm going to provide to you guys regardless. So I do want to mention that up front and right away. When we do get to the tires, just to note now, I did purchase all set 5 from the hard-earned, saved up money. So, but regardless, the feedback on these guys as well is still going to be the same. But again, the wheels, the company is Relations Race Wheels. They're a small team down in California that was founded back in 2016. And honestly, guys, the more review and look up of them, the more and more impressed that I am. They truly value and put a lot of pride into their products, and I'm not just saying that just because they were sent to me. They're an awesome team to work with, and they really care about the end customer and the products that they're putting out, knowing that they're going to be put through a lot of abuse on road, off road, all that good stuff, and they truly care about the end customer by providing a quality product at honest, fair prices, given the manufacturing process that they do, but even the R&D and testing that they put with all their products. I know specifically when you look at their website, it even showcases a lot of the stress testing, both in simulation and real world, that they put these wheels through to know that they're going to withstand pretty much anything that you throw at them. And what's even cooler is, since that time, they've actually grown into other products, including armor work for bumpers and sliders and various other things depending on the vehicle. So it's cool to see that forward progression going for them. So that's just awesome, and I do wanted to mention that nonetheless. But as far as the wheels go, they are the RR5V model in a 17-inch size. The bolts on the outside of the perimeter here are in black coloring, and then the main wheel itself is a matte gunmetal, and the offset is a -25. So lots of information there, but to begin with, as opposed in comparison to the last setup with the method wheels, I really love this. I'm not gonna lie, I truly love the look and the functionality of these so much. The matte gunmetal is definitely my favorite look so far that I've had on the truck. I really just think it pops with everything. The white on the overall color of the vehicle and the red lettering on the tires themselves. When we get to that, I just think it's just such an awesome combination, and I'm really happy with this new look that Yeti has. Kind of diving into some of the details here. The bolts on the outside of the perimeter, they are just for show. They do not provide actual bead lock technology in this specific wheel. Relations wheels, they do offer bead lock wheels themselves. So for those who don't know what that is, basically it helps to, I guess, prevent really any popping of the bead from the tire separating from the wheel when you're in extreme off-road situations. So when we're like airing down, I mean, for those who do, when they air down to like single digits basically in very extreme circumstances like rock crawling and stuff like that, the wheel's pretty much locked into the tires pretty much locked into that wheel, and it ain't going nowhere. So that technology within the wheel itself helps in those specific circumstances. For myself, I am never really going into those types of terrains or trails, so I really didn't need that. But it is cool to know that they have specific wheels for that application. I only went with this just because for myself, even though it is fake and I'll call myself out on it, I just like the look. Cosmetically, I truly just like the look of it. I think it provides a great visual appeal for an off-road truck and an off-road tire and wheel combination themselves. So honestly, for me, that's why I chose this specific model, granted along with the coloring and design itself. But even more on that as well, the offset, I'll kind of dive into a little bit more detail. The offset is a -25. And basically what has changed from before is that I went from a 0 offset from the Method wheels, and I believe even the stock wheels when you first buy these trucks. I went from a 0 offset to now a -25. And for those who don't know, that basically pushed the whole wheel out about an inch. And why that's kind of important to note is it changes the overall characteristics now within your suspension setup and then what clearance you have within the wheel well. So by going to a -25 offset, it's changed the overall positioning. So when I am off-road and fully articulated and the wheels are fully locked, I've noticed that I've gotten a little bit more rubbing now as opposed to before. Not to say that I didn't have any before, but it's definitely a little bit more noticeable now with this specific setup. And where it's rubbing is basically at the back end here in the fender. Without going into too much detail, when I first got the suspension lift and everything, I did have a body mount chop or a cab mount chop installed. And what that is it clears some of the frame by basically cutting it back, as the name implies, and re-welding a new plate. So it just gives you a little bit more clearance when you are fully turning your wheels, so it's not rubbing at all. So on top of that, I did also have to do a little bit of trimming in the plastic fender lining here at the very end of the base, and that's just to also help with clearing the tire when you are off-road and it is kind of jamming up into the fender when you're kind of going through all those different types of terrain. I've noticed that it does rub a little bit more given the new offset, and to help alleviate that, yes, you can trim more. But depending on your suspension and what flexibility you have with that, you can actually just get a proper alignment done by going to a shop who understands what you're trying to do. And you can actually just push the caster forward just a little bit if you can. And basically what that'll do is it'll allow you a little bit more extra clearance so you're not rubbing as much in the rear. I do have my appointment lined up. I haven't actually done it yet to see what we can do as far as the overall play with my specific suspension, but that should help a little bit. But even without that right now, given the rubbing that is happening, it's not that bad and it's really not hurting anything. It's just something to be mindful of. And with this last trip in Tahuya that I did, I noticed that yes, it was rubbing a little bit, but it wasn't so crazy that I couldn't really even continue to go off-road. Apologies for the wind, by the way. I'm trying to record this and the wind just keeps going in and out. But I did notice that I was rubbing, but it wasn't anything to be greatly concerned about. So that's just something to be mindful of, and I wanted to mention it nonetheless for anybody who might currently be experiencing it, not know why, or looking to go into an offset that is a little bit more aggressive, and some of the kind of ripple effects, if you will, that will need to be understood, and some preventative measures that you'll have to kind of put in place to make sure that you're still enjoying the overall ride quality. But with that overall, I mean, I truly do love this setup. It has been awesome to have a completely new appeal. That offset, by pushing it out a little bit, it gives the truck such a I guess aggressive look when you look at it dead on from the front or the rear, by having the tire stick out. And even with a mud terrain tire, it just makes that look even more appealing, at least to me. Not everybody would want that, but again, that's the different options that you would have by going with a wheel such as this. And what's even cooler is that Relations Wheels, when you hop on their website, not only do they categorize all their products by type of vehicle and year, but they even showcase what it would look like on a vehicle from 0 to -12 to -25 and so on, of what it would look like on your application. So something to be mindful of, but I did want to kind of be transparent nonetheless. But with the 17-inch wheel, it allowed me a new option of the type of tire that I got, and we're going to dive into that now. So the 17-inch wheel allowed me to go to this specific tire that I wanted with the red lettering specifically, which is only available in select sizes, of the General Grabber X3. And these guys are in a 285/70/17, so roughly about a 33-inch tire. And I have no plans to go any larger. This is the sweet spot for me by having the truck still be a daily commuter, but also provide all the clearance that I need and traction and all that good stuff with this specific size. So these are the General Grabber X3s. They're a mud terrain tire, and as compared to before with the AT, the Wild Peak, the Falcon Wild Peak AT tires, they're completely different, so you really can't compare exactly side by side. One's an all-terrain, this is a mud terrain, so they're going to handle completely different. But so far, I absolutely love them. They handle the terrain so well. There's literally 0 second thoughts that I have as far as just traction control. Sometimes I even forget to switch it into 4-wheel drive given the trails that we go on, just because I don't feel too much slipping, and only when I really get into that circumstance I notice, oh, I forgot. But overall, these guys just handle all the rocks and dirt and mud and all that kind of stuff with ease, and it's awesome to see the difference within the last setup to now this. I have not gone into any deep snow yet, which I'm very excited to do with a friend one day in case I do get stuck. But with a mud terrain tire, they are naturally known to perform better in deeper snow, which is kind of why I wanted to try them out. As compared to before, these guys will handle, again, deep snow really well. All-terrain tires are traditionally known to excel in compact snow and ice. But I'm excited to see what these can do. Again, these tires are definitely more than what I specifically would need. 95% of the time an all-terrain tire will be perfectly fine, though I've never purchased or had or driven a set of mud terrains before. So I felt this would be a great opportunity to just provide some general feedback, but even just try this specific set out. I was inspired, I will be honest, by Expedition Overland. We all know that they exclusively are partnered with General and have run their tires on all their different trips throughout the world. So it is kind of cool to just try these guys out. So kudos to their marketing team for selling me on these. But I just wanted to give them a try. I love the look of them, but more so I just wanted to see what a mud terrain was like, and who knows what the next set will be. But even kind of going into some of the characteristics, General, like Relations, they pride themselves on a lot of the work that they do. So their compound is that Duragen technology, which is that chip and puncture resistance within the rubber compound themselves. And it also maintains a great flexibility in the winter conditions at colder temperatures and stuff like that. So great to know that they put a lot of R&D work into their tires over the years and really have a well-rounded out I guess use, if you will. But as we kind of look at it, the sidewall, it has this scallop design. Again, this is to help with punctures and things like that, to help resist all that when you're off-road. Sharp rocks, trees, exposed roots and sticks and whatever else that's thrown your way when you're going off-road. This really helps to just clear that out of the way and keep your overall tire in a sound condition. But even when you look kind of going over the shoulder here, the tread lugs themselves, they have these stone bumpers. And when you look at those, basically that it's like a raised groove in between the first tread blocks here. And that helps you just clear out any small rocks and stones and different things like that while you're going off-road, to maintain the lugs being open, providing you that maximum traction, which is super cool. As you do look at the tire as well, it's kind of divided up into 4 rows. Each of the lugs have like a siphoning. Basically, it's kind of like a insertion, if you will, within the lug, and that helps with driving on wet pavement roads and rainy conditions to keep great traction while you're on road. I will say that they have done the job well. Maybe not as good as the Falcons were, being an all-terrain, but so far, they've worked out pretty good for me. But even with that, the patterns that they do have on there, it helps to, again, keep a maximum traction off-road. They're race-proven strength and durability, but they're actually pretty quiet. you know. They are mud terrain, so they do come with a little bit of noise. They are louder than the set from before. For those who've never driven on a mud terrain, I've noticed really the sound when you're driving at like highway speeds and things like that, you will kind of get a little bit of a hum. But nothing that, you know, turning up the radio can't solve. Maybe in the second video I'll kind of dive into more detail, but as the tread life does wear down, naturally mud terrain tires do get louder as they go. So we'll see how loud these truly get when that time comes, but so far it's not that bad. Some other kind of like downsides I've noticed is going to be, you know, naturally lessened MPG. So they do sacrifice a little bit of that while driving these on the pavement. I have noticed a loss of about 2 MPG on these, but that's to just be, you know, expected going to a tire like this. They're bigger, they're heavier, the rolling resistance of the tread pattern is just naturally going to happen. It's really not that big of a deal right now, but there is always going to be pros and cons with every setup. What are you going to sacrifice to then gain off-road? And for these, I've really significantly gained a lot of confidence and traction for what use I'm putting them through right now. It's worked out really well. They float air down, they are such a smooth ride, and I really don't hesitate at all off-roading. So again, we'll see how well they perform overall and long term, especially in more variety of terrain and things like that. But so far, so good. With that, let's see what else. With that, overall, it's just a totally new experience. I mean, to be honest with you, it's completely different from before, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to try something new to showcase to you guys, but also kind of put a new perspective on having a vehicle that is mostly of weekend use, but having what the characteristics would be by having a setup like this also in a daily driver. And a lot of people kind of, I think that kind of goes, you know, not for granted by having a rig so built out that you sacrifice a lot of things when it comes to maybe being your daily commuter. So far, that's the overall characteristics and pros and cons of this particular setup, as I've gone on a handful of trips with this. But in the coming time, I'm definitely going to put out some more details and reviews and thoughts, especially as we get out on some more terrain, so I can provide that to you guys. But with that, I may have not covered everything, but I wanted to open it up. If anybody does have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the comments below or shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to help you guys out with that and provide some feedback additionally. But I just wanted to also kind of keep it brief and just give you guys my initial thoughts. So I'll wrap up the video here, but as always, guys, I sincerely appreciate your support, and until next time, safe travels.